Hi there, Michelle Berry Franco here. So let's talk about what makes a great speaking gig. Sometimes we get so caught up in how do I even get speaking gigs, depending on where you are on your speaking journey. That may not be your problem at all. But for some of us, that can be a little bit of a struggle, especially at first, that we forget to assess whether or not this speaking opportunity is a good one. And I'm talking about paid speaking and speaking for free. So I want to talk with you about how to determine whether the speaking opportunity that comes your way is a good one. So I want to start by telling you about a speaking opportunity I had that didn't exactly go the way I hoped. So this was a paid speaking gig. I was flown out for this speaking gig. It was in New Orleans. And I already kind of had a feeling when I went to the mixer the night before, which can be a good idea if you want to warm up to the audience. And sometimes they expect you to do that. Anyway, I went to it and I was having some conversations and I could tell already that stylistically, I probably wasn't like in the right place, just from a personality perspective. But you never know. It depends on who you're actually talking with, right? One person or one set of people doesn't represent a whole event. So the next morning, I show up in the speaking room, ahead of time, of course, but as people start to trickle in, I'm saying hello, eyes are down. I could tell pretty early on that this was a very serious bunch. So I, ventured forth as the room was full, I ventured forth and started, sharing my hilarious stories that usually resonate pretty well with audiences and kind of help us all warm up a little bit. But it just wasn't working. I mean, it was fascinating to watch just the flatline responses to almost everything I tried. And I do usually have what I call a story in my pocket. So if one doesn't really work, pretty soon I can follow up with one that's sort of slightly different, but gets the same point across. I just could not make the connection with this audience. And I realize now that I just really hadn't done a good job of assessing whether this was a good match for me. I was so excited. It was a long time ago. So I was super excited to get this opportunity to fly out and get paid and all of that. So here are the things that I recommend that the questions you ask yourself, the questions I now ask myself as you're assessing a new speaking opportunity. Number one, does this audience, not just the meeting organizer, which is I think what happened here, but this audience want what you have to share? In this case, I think it was that the meeting organizer believed that this room full of people needed some help with their communication skill, particularly around how to talk about themselves and the work that they're doing, but that the audience themselves wasn't really needing or wanting that. So they were kind of like, why are you here talking about this? That was the feeling I was getting anyway. So first of all, does this audience want what you have? And then number two, are they open to inspiration and learning? And often, sometimes the two will go together. Sometimes this audience might be interested in the ideas that you have to share, but they're just kind of, their barriers are up. They have a lot of boundaries up around learning and taking in information. Sometimes this is just about matching up industries, right? Or being able to share how you can relate clearly with their experience so that they know to trust you. But there are audiences that have a harder time trusting. And if your experience, your credibility and experience is far and distant from the room full of people that you're about to speak in, you may just have a barrier there that's tricky to get past. So it's an assessment you're going to want to go through, and you might just want to ask some good questions of the meeting organizer. You may even want to ask the meeting organizer if there are a few people who will be in the audience that you can speak to, right? So is this audience open to inspiration and learning from you and your experience? And then third, will you get great support from the team, from the meeting organizer and the team that's putting together the event? This is really important. Things like, will they be sharing about your session? Are they going to help you make sure that the summary you provide, if you're the one providing it, works well with this audience? Will somebody be there to introduce you? Will there be somebody there who can help you with any technical issues that might show up? You want to ask all those questions ahead of time time so that you know that you'll have the support you need to be successful, especially early on, but really throughout your speaking adventures. You want to give yourself the best experience to be successful so that you can keep doing this risky, courageous, beautiful work of putting yourself out there as a speaker and having those kinds of things in place. Really asking yourself all three of these questions will help create that kind of support for you as you go do this big, beautiful work. Okay, I hope that's helpful to you. See you next week.